It's 11:30. We can just get started. And, as folks come in, I'll just continue admitting them. So first of all, welcome everybody to our session on our question and answer session on how to get your papers accepted at AERA. We have our esteemed panelists, Dr. Lancelot Brown and Dr. Talia Esnard, and they are here. And so the format for today, as we would go, they will introduce themselves. We have already kind of introduced ourselves, but those of us who have not had a shout out, please give a shout out, as well as K-Sig exec, if you are here. Well, I mean, most of you are here already. So please say who you are and say your position. And then after that, our panelists will give us some tips on how to get accepted, and then we'll open the floor for questions and answers. Okay. All right. So, our doctors, Talia Esnard and Lancelot Brown, would you please just, give us an introduction to yourselves, and then our case exec, we can just say, hey, I'm so-and-so, so I'm here, and we can just keep it rolling from there.
Okay, well, excuse me. I'm Dr. Lancelot Brown, professor at Duquesne University. Well, I've been a member of this SIG from way back. Really one of the architects of getting the SIG back on its feet and having it running to this point. Originally, I'm from Trinidad, and my research focus has always been on leadership and school effectiveness in the Caribbean and leadership issues involving school, etc., a range of things. But really and truly, I like to apply quantitative research methods because I do teach statistics at Duquesne. Although my research, I do qualitative research also, I have a stronger passion for quantitative research. And I'm seeing Dr. Defoe is shaking her head, which is true. They are very strong qualitatively, but I am very much, I have a bias for quantitative research, I will admit it. Although I do qualitative research, I do understand the importance of it. What is important in my background for me is that I was a teacher, special educator, principal, moved to Duquesne. I was a chair of the department for 9 years till I stepped down last year. And now I'm at Duquesne. My last day there will be July 31st because I've submitted my papers for retiring. Oh, Joe, I didn't know. Yes, I've been there for 19 years, the longest I've ever stayed in one position. And so for 9 years as chair, and it is always important to leave a position when people want you to stay, not when they want you to go. So I decided to leave. And now I've reached a point where now I went recently, and I'm in Pittsburgh, and really and truly, the passion is still there, but what am I doing here? There's nothing new to offer now to chart a new course, So I have opted to leave on very good terms, where people still want you to stay. I said the best time to leave a position is when they want you to stay, not when they want you to go. So here I am, retiring from July 31st.
Well, pleased to have you, Dr. Brown. Awesome. And we'll give the floor to Dr. Esnard.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Hi, Lancelot, and I'm happy that you set the tone for this particular meeting. For everyone, good morning and welcome to this session. The name is Talia Esnard. I am a lecturer in sociology at the St. Augustine campus. I am also Deputy Dean for Student Matters at the undergraduate level, assisting directly the Dean of the Faculty of Social Sciences. And I have also chaired the curriculum committee at the faculty level as well. So very active in terms of the Faculty of Social Sciences within our campus, but I'm also actively involved in AERA thankfully to Lancelot Brown and Lorette and Joyanne, who were the ones who said, Talia, you need to get into this particular, but not just the conference, but the SIG. And they have been at the forefront in terms of promoting Caribbean work. And I think this is excellent, really important for us as scholars to find a place and a home for our work, but to share that with others as well in a wider community. So I am all for that. I've been participating in that for the past 8 or so more years. And I have served as a reviewer at that particular conference, enjoying it, loving it, willing to serve for longer periods once I am able to. I am very much trained quantitative researcher, by the way. A lot of persons don't know that, but for the past 8 or more years, my research has taken a nice and welcoming turn to qualitative work, and I actually swing both worlds. I'm quite comfortable with both, but I'm loving and falling more and more in love with qualitative work. So this is an exciting space for me, and I am hoping that it could be an exciting space for all, and we could all start to engage and immerse ourselves in something that's not just necessary, but totally fruitful for everyone who's part of that academic community.
Awesome. And to have you, Dr. Esnard. So what I'm going to do now, originally we intended to just say, give everyone have a shout out, but we have an overwhelming amount of people here, which is fantastic. And so if all of us went around and said, hey, I'm so-and-so and I live here, we won't get to what we intend to do. So I'm going to shift it a little bit, and we're going to have our panelists just go ahead and give us some tips. They're going to take about 3 to 4 minutes each, and they're going to give us tips on how to get our papers presented, our papers accepted at AERA, and then we will just open the floor for whoever wants to ask questions. I will again try to navigate over here with allowing people to speak or what have you. I believe we all know how to raise hands. If you use those things before, great. So I'll be on my end. I'll be catching up in terms of how to admit it. But okay, so our Talia or Lancelot, whoever wants to go first, please go ahead and give us how do we get our papers accepted at AERA? What do you say?
Well, since I ended, I perhaps could start and switch over to Lancelot. But there are several things that I think I could share with our colleagues. And, I would say first and foremost that there's the politics of the conference SIG and of the conference itself, the community. And sometimes that doesn't fare its head very visibly in terms of when and how we submit and whether we get accepted. But I think it's important to know that when you are submitting, that you have to first look at the SIG that you're submitting to, the parameters around which the SIG is being framed, some of the leverage that the SIG has. So you look at the number of members within the SIG, then that influences, of course, the number of papers that they could accept because of allocations. And that, to me, is critical in terms of, do I accept, do I submit, and will I be accepted? Those things factor into those decisions and the possibilities around that. But besides that, there's also the other rationale around submitting, which is, where do I want to situate my work? And are the scholars in that particular SIG doing work that allows, or similar work that allows for what I am doing to be appreciated in a way that not just validates what I'm doing, but gives relevance and visibility to the possibility for which the work presents. And I think that's, for me, is even more important than the number of allocations that are presented or that are available through the SIG. That being said, I think it's also important to look at other issues, fitness of the paper. Some persons submit, but the work is just broad work that they're doing, generally speaking. And sometimes they're so eager to submit the work and to get it out that they do not really pause and think through, is this particular theme aligning with my work and the paper that I'm thinking right now I have in mind to submit? So sometimes you have the work and some people work backwards. So they take what they're doing and they try to to fit that within what the theme is asking for. Sometimes that works well, sometimes it does not. Sometimes some person submits anyway, and they just hope that even if it's not highly aligning or strictly aligning with the theme, that it will be considered as part of the acceptance. The cohort of papers that are accepted. That may be the case, it may be not, but that's a risk. And that's a risk that you have to calculate very, very closely in terms of, is my paper a good fit for that particular theme and for that particular SIG? The other issue is that of comprehensiveness. I notice very often that persons submit papers, and AERA has a very strict rubric for assessing the submissions. So you have theoretical framework, you have data sources, you have the significance of what you're doing, and oftentimes, I would say 4 out of 5 times every year, you get persons who are submitting without completing all the sections for which AERA requires. And once you do that, you automatically disadvantage yourself, because it means that your marking and how you are assessed would be already positioned in a way that you receive less of based on the omission of that particular section. So the issue of comprehensiveness is very important, and you have to ensure that all the sections within that metrics, within that rubric, they are adequately addressed, and that is fundamental. And then the issue of relevance. I remember many years ago, a colleague of mine in presenting a paper, I thought this paper was great and it was on the mark. And so I was quite excited to present this paper. And then this colleague stood up in the conference and then he said, "So what?" And I stood dumbfounded, because my initial reaction, knee-jerk reaction is, what do you mean, so what? This is, breaking word, and as far as I have analyzed this. And I think it's important for us to get there. So I don't understand the question of so what. And he says, it's interpretation. It's not that your work is not important, but you have not articulated the relevance and the significance and the potential impact of that work. And I think I can extend that advice to all here this morning in terms of the importance of communicating that. How can your work be leveraged to change policy, to change action, to change practice? And that is an important consideration in writing the paper and in getting it accepted, because yes, the methods may be stock, it may be within the particular realm of qualitative or quantitative research. Yes, the topic may not be new, but you want to show the potential impact of your work that allows for your work to be assessed differently in terms of the contribution that it makes as well. I think I've capped my 3 minutes, and I'll turn over to my colleague.
Well, I mean, I think you have covered almost everything I was going to say, but I'm going to stress the idea of the theme that AERA puts up. Although the theme is normally, it's pretty broad. So your research has to be related to some way to the theme. You have to make that connection to that theme. And sometimes in my role as reviewing a paper, I will say a very good paper, but in no way is it connected to the theme of the conference, right? And I mean, so therefore there's a lot of flexibility where there's concern, but you have to be aware of that. And of course, you know the SIG you're submitting to, and the focus of the SIG is important. But Dr. Esnad already covered most of that already. I want to talk about the objectives of your study. Now, we tend to forget that all of us here would have gone through at some point a proposal defense for a dissertation, where you have to have the theory, the methodology, and everything really to get through to the point of writing the dissertation. If you keep that frame in mind and you use it again, you're actually meeting 90% of the criteria that AERA is asking you to have in your proposal. So think of it as a proposal defense that you go through for your dissertation to be accepted, and you're doing basically the same thing. Primary research is always critically important. I mean, don't just submit a literature review. Almost anyone can do that. Secondary studies are not really given weight. You want primary research where you have collected data